I'm Roger Bush, I'm the Dean of Truro, and here we are in Truro Cathedral in our All Saints Chapel, and we are just about to open this wonderful exhibition by Zoe Cameron on the Stations of the Cross. Someone from the cathedral approached Zoe about 18 months ago to see if she'd be commissioned to have an artistic interpretation of the Stations of the Cross. Now, the Stations of the Cross are the 14 positions that traditionally Jesus went to and stood at on his journey to the crucifixion. And they're part of the devotional aspect of the church's life, particularly in Lent and Holy Week. And they tend to be a very spiritual exercise, and some of the images of the Stations of the Cross can be quite traditional. But Zoe, as you can see from these wonderful paintings, has given a very contemporary approach to this, and I think this has made it very exciting for us to house here, to host these wonderful paintings, because what she has done is, I think, is given a contemporary overview of what the Stations of the Cross can mean, that there is a contemporary relevance to the story of the Stations of the Cross, not just in terms of an artistic representation, but what it tells us about the modern world. And you'll see here not just one depiction of one sequence of events, but many different depictions in many different guises to show that there's a universal aspect to this, as well as a very closely confined storytelling. So I think this is a very exciting display, and we're very, very proud and pleased to accommodate it here.
Right. So all the paintings, what we did was we made templates to fit, cardboard templates to fit each arch, because each arch was made by craftsmen. Right. So of course everyone is slightly different.
That's bad workmanship on the cathedral's front, surely.
It's not nice, but
the wall's not plumb.
No, it's not. It probably isn't actually. But of course that made fitting in the boards a bit tricky, because it's got no give.
Right.
Once you've got a piece of board and you're trying to get it in the stone, if it doesn't fit and it jams or anything, it's a bit of a worry. So,
whose idea was it to put it in the arches?
It was mine, actually.
Yeah.
I was given an option of where I'd like to have the work placed.
Right.
And this seemed to be the most wonderful opportunity to put it in the stonework. It's not often you get the chance to do that.
No, it's a stunning frame, isn't it, for the work?
It is. It's a wonderful opportunity, and of course each of these arches is slightly different because they're made by craftsmen, handmade.
Right.
And so each of these boards had to be handmade by. In the end, I got a carpenter to help me, because it was too much of a struggle for me.
Yeah.
And he made, the carpenter's Anthony Pascoe from Mullion, and he helped me to make the boards.
Yep.
Then I primed them all up and got them all ready and started the paintings.
Right, yeah. So how long did this work take you to make?
Well, I suppose it's been nearly 2 years, about 18 months, something like that, from when I was invited to show here and to produce some work here. For this spot, right through to the completion.
Right.
Yeah.
It's a bit of I would say it's like a bit of a kind of a bold move for the cathedral, because it's a modern interpretation of the stations.
It is. I suppose some of the ecclesiastical people have said that to me, that it's a modern interpretation, but of course to me it's not.
Right.
You know, because that's how I see it. So, but I think probably it is. Yeah. It is a more modern.
I didn't say the wrong thing, did I?
No, not at all.
Right, okay.
No, not at all.
To illustrate what I mean about the contemporary portrayal of the Stations of the Cross, we have this wonderful painting here, which could be street gangland culture in any of our modern cities. And that shows that whatever spiritual gloss we may give to the stations, there is a very raw and immediate relation about this in our contemporary society. Equally, we have this wonderful painting here, who could be, dare I say, a 1950s housewife.
Yes.
This is the Station of the Cross where Veronica wipes the face of Jesus, and you see the imprint of the face of Jesus on the cloth there. But this person could be anybody in today's society. Yeah. In other words, we can all care for Jesus, not just some dare I say, mythical figure from the past. So it's this contemporary realisation of where we are, which makes these pictures very immediate and very powerful.
You got your disco hat on there, Zoe?
Yeah, I'm ready. Wagons roll. I decided to start the story in the Garden of Gethsemane.
Right.
Because that's where Jesus is afraid that he can't cope with what's to come. And I felt that that was a good place to start, because all of us, although not to this level, have had times when we feel that we can't go on and we can't face what we know we've got to do.
Right.
And so that's why I decided to use this as a starting point.
Right.
And in all of the paintings, I've decided not to show Jesus' face, with the exception of the Madonna and Child, because then that enables everybody to have their own face to Jesus, rather than be prescriptive. In this one, this is the Garden of Gethsemane, where the angel comes to Jesus in order to give him strength to support him on the journey he's going to have to make. And I've got down here, I put down here a little lamb, because the innocence of the lamb and the symbolism of the lamb. And next to the lamb is a little red poppy, because I always feel like the forces and they have to go into battle, and I can't imagine how that ever must be, both for the person that's going into war and also for the families at home. And in some regard, the clothes that Jesus is wearing in this one are a bit ambiguous. They're not particularly modern, they're not particularly ancient, but I wanted them to have a little bit of a feel of just a muscular man with the blood beating through his feet. We can see I put his feet up close to show the blood pumping through them, knowing that he was going to have to face something absolutely unbearable, and his own death.
No! I always do that.
I've got Pilate here in theatrical clothing, because he's on the stage, he's got the crowd baying for blood beyond him, and I have used in a number of these paintings gold leaf, because obviously it's the best and the most unusual material and the most beautiful material to use as Jesus' halo. Because it creates such a beautiful light.
Yeah, it really stands out.
It's really good with candles.
Does the thought that goes into this painting take as much, do you do as much preparation as actual painting?
Yes.
I mean, yeah.
Yes, I do. I write huge quantities of notes, I have files, I have
the research.
A lot of research, because if you read the Bible, one story will say Jesus was wearing red, another one will say he was wearing purple, so you have to absorb it all, and then you choose the angle that you want to take, or what would work compositionally, or make the best impact, really.
Yeah.
The crucifix, then from meeting the mothers of Jerusalem, he goes on to be crucified. And I thought a lot about how to depict the crucifixion. It's obviously a very, very difficult subject to deal with. And there have been some extraordinary paintings made by artists who've produced images of the crucifixion, and so it's quite a hard act to follow in a way. So I decided to keep it very simple. There were a lot of people that played their part in the crucifixion. There were soldiers who were gambling for his clothes. There was the people giving him wine, rancid wine or vinegar on a sponge. But I didn't feel I wanted to represent all of them. I felt like I just wanted to represent Jesus on the cross, or Christ on the cross. And because I felt that that was the core of what it was about. I read an interesting essay about when the darkness came down in the afternoon. And I was quite interested in that concept, that it protected Jesus from the gaze of all those people who'd been against him and were so cruel. And I felt that that was significant to me because it gave him dignity. It gave him back his dignity, even though God seemed to have deserted him, and even though the people were being cruel to him. I felt that it gave him silence and space at a time of such suffering. And I felt that also perhaps the only, not people present, but the only beings present should be angels, to see him across to the other side. And that's why I kept it as simple as that. So I used the darkness to keep it simple. I did have trouble getting the depth. I used a lot, for painters would know that I used a lot of glazes because it's a technique that the old masters used to use. It means that you get a richer dark rather than just using a black.
Right.
So there's a lot of different colours in there, and you have to put them on and let them dry and put them on and let them dry. So that's what it was.
Yeah.
And the angels I wanted as kind of sculptural shapes hanging in space. And I think that I hope that the fabric creates an interesting texture, but doesn't interfere with the overall emotion and feeling in the painting. Just hanging there, present and waiting for Jesus. So after the crucifixion, Jesus is taken down from the cross. And I was thinking about how to present that as an idea. At one stage I explored taking him down from the cross, the physical way of getting him down from the cross, a body down from the cross. But it became too complicated, and I decided that really what mattered in my work, or in my thoughts, was that he would be returned to his mother, the body would be returned to his mother. Because the fact that a mother would be glad to have a body shows how desperate the situation was. And so there's Jesus with Mary, and I have his soul, and he's naked going up to God with the angels into the sky. So in the background there are members of the group that were there as part of the story, and the crown of Mary, the other Mary, is there in the corner, far right, with a crown of thorns weeping, as Mary holds the body of the dead Christ. I wanted, again, I haven't got his face in because I felt it wasn't important. I haven't made it gory. You get the hole in the foot where the nail went through, but really it was more about the immense sadness and grief rather than anything too blatant, I suppose, really. And this is the final painting of the 10, in that it's the resurrection. And in this one I wanted to deal with it very differently, because it has to be different, because it's such a special subject. Resurrection is a miracle, and so we've got to make it special. And so in that I use the traditional material of gold leaf, so that he's raising them up. The air is filled with gold leaf, everything is gold. And in this painting I have Jesus pulling Adam and Eve out of hell. He's broken down the gate, he's pulling them up into the air, up into heaven, and I have an angel who's guiding Eve towards heaven, where he's saving their souls.
So next time you're in Truro, please come into the cathedral and have a look at this wonderful collection from Zoe Cameron, and it's running until...
It's running until the beginning of April, so there's plenty of time to come and have a good look at it and get a cup of tea.
The restaurant's pretty good, isn't it?
It is very good.
I was surprised at that, yeah.
And there's lots of other nice artwork here too to have a look at.
Yeah, it's full of art, isn't it?
It is.
Bits and pieces, very interesting building. Thanks for watching.